Hey,
Noah,
hey, what's up?
hey man, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, dude. I'm doing all right. I like how you're looking this way.
Yeah,
And
I couldn't find my stand for my webcam, so I'm like got
oh,
this weird angle now. So
right on. We'll make it work, man. We'll work it work. So
fine.
thank you for spending a little time with me today, dude. I do appreciate it. Last time I saw you in Minneapolis, saw you quick after the show. We talked for a few minutes out in the cold. It was, too damn cold to sit there and chat for a while. So I'm glad that we're both inside. It's still damn cold here, man. Where are you at?
I'm in Los Angeles right now.
All right, so it's nice and warm and sunny and all that stuff. I
Yeah,
get
it's not bad. It's not bad.
Right. So congratulations, dude. I know I said this to you when I saw you last. Congrats on the record. Dropped on February 25, The Death of Peace of Mind. It's insanely good. And my 25 years I've been in radio, working for this radio station in Minneapolis. I can count on one hand that a band has changed me or stuck with me or made me want to scream it from the rooftops. And this is one of the records, man. It's insane how much I love this record. What kind of feelings, and stuff that you can go back to in the recording process? First of all, how long did it take to put this all down, all 15 songs?
It was quite a process because we produced the record ourselves, and that kind of, while it gives you a certain freedom, it also gives you, like, I don't know, I guess you never really are off, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like,
sure.
you get an idea or something and you have the freedom to go like sit down at your workstation and lay it down, and before you know it, you're like 3 hours into this idea, and you forgot to eat, or you forgot you're supposed to do something, or
Sure, call grandma. Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. So you get, it's easy to get sucked into it when you are working on the record entirely yourself. That said, though, I think we started writing it like right around the time the pandemic started. I think we had maybe one or two song ideas that we ended up using on it that we started before that, but mostly it all kind of started getting hammered out when the pandemic started, because we were at home and we thought it was only going to last a few weeks, and it obviously lasted way longer. So once we realized, like, we were about a month in, we're like, okay, we should put our time to good use. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was when we started just working a little more intently on the record. And so short answer is, I guess, the last 2 years we've been putting it together and writing it and engineering it.
There's definitely an evolution in sound, or the overall sound of the record compared to the previous two. Was that a conscious effort to, like, hey, we are starting to feel something else with what we're doing here? Or how did that come to be? Because what I'm talking about. There's a different sound. What's going on?
Absolutely. I think the biggest part, for at least for me and my contribution to the writing and producing process, was all the new things I was doing with my voice. It all kind of started when we did our deluxe reissue for Finding God Before God Finds Me, and we did 2 songs with Eric Ron, who produced those 2 tracks. And I have to give him a lot of credit. He really brought me out of my shell as a singer and like helped me kind of find my own voice.
Sure.
Instead of trying so hard to just like put on this like character or like emulate other singers that I aspired to be or I liked so much. And once he kind of showed me what my voice sounded like, and I realized I liked it, it kind of opened up more doors for me writing to like try more sounds, or try, I guess, to hide it less in a way, because previously on our first few records, I feel like I was trying to hide my voice with like lots of layers, or like really wide group singing like effects on the vocal production side of things. And with this record, it's almost, aside from like choruses and really big parts that have a lot of harmonies and stuff, it's only one vocal, you like, especially in like the verses and pre-choruses, because I really wanted it to sound almost like a pop record in the vocal production, where it's very polished, it's very clean, like the edits are very like refined, and like just every nuance is captured, So that led to us having up to 100 vocal takes sometimes just for one verse, but because we were engineering the record ourselves, we had that freedom. So I could be in the studio all day working on just one chorus, and, editing it and cutting it until I had the exact take that I wanted.
Yeah.
That's always like a fun part for me of making the record is, finding those little subtle cadences or nuances in the delivery. And even if no one else really notices or appreciates it, I think it's something that subconsciously people acknowledge.
When was I guess the decision to be the producer, to do all that work on yourself and not work with somebody else? When did that come to be?
It's kind of a win-win because, when we get the budget for the record, we get to decide, how we want to spend it. And as the producers, like how much we want to outsource. And there's so much in the recording process, at least in my opinion, and this is, I'm sure, amongst producers and engineers, maybe a conflicting, controversial thing to say, but I feel like there's a lot you can really do and get away with on your own, especially when it comes to rock and metal records. And our previous record we produced ourselves as well, and it went pretty well for us, in my opinion.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
When we're writing, a big part of our writing process is producing, whereas like a lot of bands in the rock and metal space, they have the skeleton of the song and just guitar, drums, and bass, and maybe vocals before they start producing and doing post-production. But with us, the post-production is such a large part of our sound now. And that's why I've said in the past that I feel like, we're almost more of an industrial band inspired by rock and metal, or an electronic band inspired by rock and metal, more so than a rock and metal band inspired by electronic. Because typically with rock and metal bands, those aspects come after. Whereas with us, we start with those for almost every song. So at that point, when we're writing and producing all the records as we go, we're like, why don't we just produce this thing ourselves? All we have to do is, the only thing we didn't have the means to do ourselves was engineered live drums, which we live in LA, so there's tons of great, drum rooms and studios and drum engineers out here. So that's one of those things with the budget. We're like, okay, how much can we spend on the drums and getting a really great drum sound and getting a great drum engineer, and how much can we spend on the mix? I believe we outsourced all the strings on the record, like all the orchestral stuff from this.
That's awesome that you didn't do that on the keys. I like that so much.
We did last record, and it's cool, but like with this one, there's a lot of moments where the strings are very prevalent and even sometimes solo. So it's like we really wanted to sound real. So we outsourced to this company in Prague that had like a whole orchestra basically that is cool. We got to like kind of monitor it live on Zoom and like kind of almost direct them in a sense. And they would like loop the song, they'd play through, and we'd get to like pick out individual people, but maybe you can play this like a higher octave or things like that. So it was really cool. Like I've never done anything like that, even though it was, virtual. It was still very cool to get to, kind of manage this symphony in a sense.
That's so cool. I thought it was going to be synth, just synths, because that's how people do. They cheap it out, like.
There's times when you can, and sometimes we even blend the two. But with this record, we really wanted to pull out all the stops. And strings is just something you can tell when it's fake. Even if it's like it doesn't bother you, at the very least you can tell. And there's a lot of moments where there's like a lot of passion with the strings, and it wasn't. We had the money to do it, and I was like, whatever. Let's make a little less money ourselves producing it and make a better product. That's always been our motto.
Awesome.
Even when we go on tour, like, okay, how much can we make versus how much can we reinvest in like a new piece of gear or maybe something to increase the production value of the show. And we always elect to do that, even if it means we have to work 10 times harder off tour,
So with spending so much time with the music, I mean, you're in it, like you said, you're doing this stuff at home, working on, and it's in your brain constantly. How do you know when a song is done, man? How do you know when you're like, I don't have to touch it? That's it.
I think once it starts becoming like painful and not fun, that's when you need to either step away from it for a while or just step away from it entirely.
Okay.
And that's something I learned the hard way on the last record. I think we spent way too much time on the writing aspect of the last record, to the point that we kind of just got in our own heads about it. And some of the songs maybe even lacked as a result of trying too hard, which I know sounds a little redundant, but at a certain point, like you're not doing anything to improve the song when you're just beating yourself up every day, thinking that it could be better, or it's like that's kind of where it's like a double-edged sword producing yourself, because you have too much freedom and too much time. work on something. Whereas you go in the studio with another producer, you're kind of like, this is it. I have to commit to this decision, you know?
Sure.
And so you doing it yourself, you have to find that balance of being able to step away from it and know when something's finished. And, you know, there were songs that we, to this day, I don't know if they were finished, but we just like liked the vibe of them. And we put them on the record, you know, like
That's cool.
I think the hardest one on the record was Somebody Else, which is like a slow, like electronic kind of dark pop track, which is one of my favorite genres. Like I love just like chill lo-fi, like, you know,
crosses.
Dark pop. Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that.
Love crosses. Yeah.
Love crosses. It's one of my favorite types of music. And that was a song where, you know, it's a little outside of our wheelhouse in terms of genre, but all of those artists I listen to, it's more about creating like an environment and a vibe than it is like a perfect song structure. So for me, I was like, I need to make this song sound enjoyable from start to finish. Whether you repeat a part 3 times, whether you repeat a part 1 time, like this needs to be a vibe. And you're driving late at night in your car, you know, like down the highway, it's raining. So
you're never going to get over that. I mean, like you're always going to love that vibe. So how do you not do that again on the next record or do a continuation of that? Because you love it, right? I mean, that's.
I don't know. I mean, we're a band that I feel like likes to reinvent ourselves.
Sure.
So I have no idea what's coming for the next record, but I'm excited for it because I feel like I still have so much ideas inside me. You know?
So, you know, I read something where you talking about the record, you kind of did a track by track breakdown, and I read that before I got my hands on the record and then, you know, been living with it. This is all I've been listening to, dude, forever. And I know we only got so much time. There's so many questions I want to ask. I want to ask about the artwork. I want to ask about that photograph in general. But so going back to that, I'm reading the breakdown, and I think in Just Pretend, you're talking about how you kind of wanted to, this ego vibe about you. You wanted to go after writing that active rock song with that sound. Now my question is, are you anti-radio for the most part? Do you not like radio? Do you not like active rock radio? Whatever the hell they call that, because I don't even know if we call it that anymore. And I've been doing this for a minute. So
no, it's not like that. I definitely don't want to have a reputation of like people being like, oh, he's like, you know, condescending when it comes to radio. I just think that when you write a song with the goal in mind, or any goal in mind rather, for that matter, not just getting on the radio, but when you have like an ulterior motive in the creative process, the song will always suffer. And, you know, with us, we've had success here and there, even on like earlier records. I don't think as much as this one, but we've had some success at serious active rock radio and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was never intentional. It was just a song we wrote that we liked, that maybe someone at the label or just the general consensus was like, this actually could work, you know, in a more like commercial setting, like, you know, active rock radio or mainstream radio or whatever.
Right.
So my issue with radio is that I feel like a lot of the songs I hear on the playlist or that are constantly getting spun on active rock radio sound just like the songs I was hearing on active rock radio in the early 2000s, like when I was growing up and getting into rock, which, you know, makes sense because there's to this day, they're still spinning those songs the most. Sure. They're still number one, you know, and like, there's a reason for that. But I just don't think it's pushing the needle forward with rock for me. And that's just my opinion, you know, like I definitely acknowledge, like, I get it. Like, you know, bands like Shinedown and 3 Days Grace, I think they write great songs. I love their music. It's just, I feel like that genre in general, I have heard
you
so
want more
much.
Deftones.
I want more. I don't even know what I want. I just want more something, you know? And to me, like, for example, Like a Villain, that's a song that we had no idea would ever make it to Octane or any type of radio format whatsoever.
Right.
And, you know, we just wrote a song that we really liked, that we thought was cool and interesting, and we wanted to be creative with the production. And it's a song that I'm excited got that kind of attention.
It's still getting that attention, dude. I mean, you guys are 18, 17 on the chart and you're about to go up. I just looked at it before you and I started to chat. You guys are about to go up higher. I mean, how's that feel? How's that make you feel? I mean, you're on that chart and you're going up.
Honestly, it excites me, and it gives me hope that like the average rock and alternative rock demographic is open to new things, at least now. Sure. Maybe they weren't in the past, but I feel like now is like the best time for bands to get experimental. And as much as I'm sure the rock community hates to contribute or credit it to him, like I feel like big mainstream artists like MGK are, if not improving the platform, inspiring other artists on that platform to see that like maybe I don't have to try so hard. Maybe I don't have to care so much. Maybe the same formula for a good active rock song is tired and I can do something different, and it will work, you know? And to me, it's like, it's hard when you're 3 records in to keep the mindset of like, I just want to make music I like, because there is increasingly more and more pressure, you know, to like, you have a bigger fan base, you have people that expect you to be successful or write a song that will be successful. And it's hard to just block all that noise out and just continue to make music the same way I did when I was a teenager, where I just, I like this song, this is cool, you know? And it's even hard to block it out from yourself when I have like, you know, what I would consider a good amount of musical knowledge and experience to where I could go to the studio and write an active rock song for you if you asked me to, you know, if that was what you hired me to do.
There's that ego coming out, dude, right there.
No, but like, you know, if a band came and wanted to record and they were like, yeah, we're kind of going for like an alternative Breaking Benjamin sound, I could do that, you know?
Sure.
But it's like, when it comes to my own band, I don't ever want there to be an ulterior motive with the music, because it feels disingenuous. And that kind of ties into the whole, like, you know, the metal crowd saying bands sell out when they go soft type of thing. But it's like, to me, the definition of selling out is doing something that you know will please the masses. And if you're a metal band and you historically make metal music and only have metal fans, to me, selling out would to make the safest record you could imagine for your fan base and make another heavy metal record. You know what I mean? It's this huge paradox, in my opinion, that I don't think people realize, where it's like, if I give you all what you want, that's me selling out. Selling out is doing something that I don't want to do, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to me, I think it's continuing to be experimental and, you know, curious with the creative process is key to kind of changing the genre in a sense.
And ultimately, you're saying you're cool with being on the radio. You like hearing your song.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's very cool. It's awesome. I was just surprised, and like, with the amount of stuff I listen to on like active rock radio, I never imagined my band would have success there, I guess is what I'm saying. So, you know, not like a pretentious, we're better than these bands way. I just don't think we fit that mold. Cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I was just looking at my Instagram before you and I started to talk too, just like some of the interviews that I've done just this past year, from M Shadows to Jacoby Shaddix, Ollie Sykes, Bruce Dickinson, Tobias Forge, Dave Grohl, Corey and Clown from Slipknot, and then David Draymond, and now you. So you're a part of that group.
That's
brother.
quite a roster. I will say Disturbed has been one of my favorite bands since I was a kid. That was my first introduction to heavy music. And yeah, I think he's like one of the greatest singers in rock and metal.
He's fantastic, and he's a good person too, which I dig as well. So let's chop it up with a few things, because I know I can't keep you that long, but 15 songs, dude. You got a favorite on the record? One that really that's your jam too. I mean, I know they're all your babies. I get that. I get it.
That is hard. I really go back and forth between The Death of Peace of Mind and Concrete Jungle.
Sure.
Mostly because I think Concrete Jungle and I guess The Death of Peace of Mind, they do the best job of like showcasing every sound on the record in one song in a way that I feel is cohesive and fluent and tasteful in a way.
Dude, in that song, in The Death of Peace of Mind, you kind of open up your voice with that opera. You know, where did that come from? That idea was rad. I'm like, I didn't see that coming. That was so cool.
I'm glad you noticed that, because I feel like people don't really notice those subtle like changes in cadence.
Super cool.
We made the instrumental and I was singing over it, and it just, whatever it was, something about the music just kind of gave me this like vampiric operatic emotion. And I was like, maybe I'll bring that out into like the delivery of the vocal.
Full throat. It's just awesome, you know?
And it felt very comfortable for me too, which was weird because I had never sang like that before. And then I was like, I don't know, maybe I am an active rock singer, you know, like, because I hear those cadences and people like, you know, David Draymond, where it's got a bravado to it and it feels very like masculine and wide. And I just sang that chorus and it felt so like effortless, and it's one of my favorite songs to do live because it's just so easy for me to sing.
It's really rad, dude, too. Every song seems like it's like you're watching a film, you're watching a feature film, and there's a twist in the movie. You didn't see that coming, and it adds another layer that makes the movie better. I feel like that's what your songs are.
I love that analogy, because we try to make our songs very cinematic. Like, we love to just throw that word around when we're in the creative space. And I love music that feels like it has just this continuous growing like crescendo throughout the song.
Absolutely.
That's why The Death of Peace of Mind and Concrete Jungle are my favorites, because they start so small, like just 808 or sub bass and vocal, and then you introduce real drums and like rhythm guitar, and then by the end of the song there's like a full-on breakdown with the crash cymbal and the octave guitars, and it just, I love that it just continues to climb and build, and it just gets you more and more excited, much like a movie. When you're getting towards the climax of a movie and you're like, oh my god, what's going to happen? What is Mark Wahlberg going to do?
That's great. Right.
So what is Jack Nicholson going to do now?
Right. Do you have a lot of say then, I guess, in the whole band, all you guys together, in the treatments for the videos? Because these videos that you guys put out before the record came out blew my mind. Like, I sat down in my basement downstairs, like getting into one video, then I went to the next, and I'm like, oh my god, I just want more. I want to keep going. And dude, I had no idea they were all going to be on the same fucking album. No idea. How rad is that?
So to be honest, no one else in the band really likes like working on type of stuff. Like, they like to throw in like their ideas here and there, but it's mostly just me and the director Ori that do all that. Like, we like to do like the wardrobe and like the general like treatment for the videos together. And then, from there, it's like, again, when, like I said earlier, we prefer to do more work if it means the production value increases. So like The Death of Peace of Mind, for example, those big tall walls that the hands are sticking through with the jewelry, me and Jolly had to build and paint those ourselves. It took about 2 days, and we had to do it in the backyard.
Dirty, huh?
Because we were trying to find like something like that to rent, and it was so insanely expensive. And I'm like, it should not be this expensive to rent 3 giant white walls or build 3 like white platforms. You know what I mean? So like, we went through various materials, went through different companies trying to see what the best option was. And then we found out we can just go to this like junkyard and get these flats, these old movie flats, and then just paint those and clean them up. And then the holes that are cut out, Ori did in post. So those are all effects. So
and then
when we filmed it,
through,
all that is done in post. So all the walls when we filmed, were just 3 white flat walls,
do you have
that's just another example of like how we want the record to be great. We want the videos to be great. And if the director tells me, hey, this idea or this one part of this scene is going to suffer because we don't have the money unless we figure this out, like, we're going to find the answer to that. You know what I mean?
I mean, Artificial Suicide, dude, that energy in that song, I mean, I can feel that going up the back of my neck. And when it gets into you can't not help but move and feel that visceral, and then the energy of the music is insane. Is that one of my favorites?
That's one of my favorites on the record, especially like, I guess, conceptually and lyrically. I just love everything that song stands for, like in the lyrics. And in the production too. The production on that one's really like,
dude, I want 2 more of those.
I want to unpack it.
They're so good.
I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about like maybe doing like more songs like that for like a short EP or something, like an Artificial Suicide EP or something. That's just an idea I've been floating. We're shooting a video tomorrow, actually.
You are. So I'm guessing that's for the next single, though, that you probably don't want to say, kind of a thing.
It's for a song that's out on the record, but we're still gonna have singles for this record, even though it's released. And we just have so much stuff planned this year for this record, just because of how well it's being received. So
the gray is really what changed my brain. That is the one, though, that I know I've said it with some of the other songs, but that one's the one that I first attached myself to. Watching the video, which was very simple but so tasteful. You nailed your the syncing up with the vocal and the words. That's so rare. Everyone's out off a little bit. You nailed it.
Because I sang it 400 times in the studio trying to get the perfect take. I know this record like better than anything. Like, I know every part of this record, how many bars are in each song. Like, I know everything about this record. So I feel like a mad scientist sometimes when I'm like diving into the stems. Even if you might actually, I feel like I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to, because it's an Easter egg at this point. But we're about to start playing the Gray live, and I was digging into the tracks to like pick out like the keys and stuff that we're gonna have to put on the tracks. And I realized that there's a note in one of the choruses on that song that is a half step off in the bass guitar.
Yeah.
Which is an error that we made, me, Matt, and Jolly Engineering, which is hard to imagine because we like were just going so hard on this record. And like,
Sure.
that might be the problem. Like, it was probably one night we were just so tired and burnt tracking bass, and we just missed it. But you can't hear it in the mix for some reason, but there is one note on the bass that's a half step off. And I found it. I found it a few days ago, and I was like, no way. I texted Zach, the guy that mixed it, and I was like, dude, guess what I just found? And he was like, oh, dude, don't worry about it. No,
don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that sound in the gray where it sounds like water or something dropping? It's like a break in between, you know, a bridge and a chorus kicking, and there's that note or sound. What is that?
I think
sound?
I know what you're talking about. It's a sample from a Sprite commercial.
What? Really? Like
I
opening
wanted
a
this
can
like
or something?
I wanted this like misty, watery sound, and you know how they just go insane with the sound design on those commercials.
Yeah,
it's a sample from that mixed with like I think like a ping pong ball sample or something. I don't remember. I'd have to open it up.
Oh, wow, dude!
It's one of those rabbit holes we just go into with the production where we just throw a plugin on and automate it and mess with it, and then it makes a cool sound.
So again, real quick then, how did, you know, the I don't know if I'm getting the shine on this, but this idea is rad. I mean, from the girl that's beautiful to the color, the red, there's an emotion here when you look at this, and you get lost staring at it. It's insanely cool. So how did this come to be the cover?
Well, we didn't create the cover ourselves or anything. We that was actually a very specific thing I wanted to do differently this time, because the first record we found the photograph and I love that artwork to this day. The second record, we were trying to like create something that didn't exist, I guess, and we were inspired by this pottery style that's in Japan, I think, that's called kintsugi, where they repair broken bowls or glasses with like gold filling to make it like, I guess, better than it was originally. It's like a big metaphor about like how things are better once they're broken and then repaired in their most original state, something like that. Yeah. But we had a 3D artist make it, and it's great. I love it. It's just with this record, I was like, okay, I'm not an artist. I'm not a photographer. Like, I'm an artist with music, but I'm not like a digital artist or 3D artist. I'm not a photographer. And I want our artwork to be made from someone that's like their thing, you know, that's their passion, their hobby, just as much as music is mine. So I was like, I know I want to find something that exists already, like that we can just license, like from a photographer that's very talented, that's been doing this his whole life, or an artist that's been doing this his whole life, because it's going to be obvious in whatever it is when we find it. And it was really hard. It took months, and I was all over Pinterest. I was like going through all these different photographers that I liked, these different 3D artists that I really liked. We went through a million ideas. And then when we decided that the record would be called The Death of Peace of Mind, I was on, I think, Peerspace, it's called. It's like a location rental website for LA, like film shoots. And one of the thumbnails for one of the locations was this really cool photo of this like cathedral with this LED cross and this guy like on a box with flowers. And I thought that was really cool. And it kind of I glimpsed over it, and it stuck in my head for a while, and I forgot about it. And then our bass player, Nick, sent me that exact photo later on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God, I love this picture. I saw this on Peerspace the other day. Like it's at this location in North Hollywood or something.
Sure.
And then I went to the actual photographer's Instagram, and I kept scrolling, and he had way more cool stuff like that. I just didn't like the cross aspect, because like that was the whole last record's theme, and we were trying to get out of that.
Yeah.
And then I found the picture that became the album art that he had taken, 5 months prior, and I was like, dude, this is it. This is awesome. Like, I love this. So I sent it to our manager. I was like, can we hit this guy up and see if he'd be interested in licensing the photo for album art? And one thing led to another, and that ended up being the photo. But I feel like the reason it spoke to me so much was the record is called The Death of Peace of Mind, which is pretty obvious, like what that is saying, I guess. And when you look at the artwork, I just see this person that's just so exhausted and just tired that they're just hunched over in the most uncomfortable position, it looks like, and not a very comfortable seat.
Right.
And just between that and like, I love the color red, I love the fabric texture material. Between all of that, I was like, this is so simple, but like effective to me because I really like minimalist stuff. Like even my room and stuff, like I just like a minimalist approach to things and very neat and clean. So
unlike this where it's all loud.
Yeah. So when I saw that, I was like, oh man, I love this. I hope we can get this. And sure enough, he was excited. He was cool. And we ended up even doing a photo shoot with the band with him.
Oh wow.
A few months later. So all the promos from this record cycle he took as well.
Wow, man. So cool. I mean, I want to ask you too about like the video, not the video, but seeing you guys live and how it's kind of darker on set. How are you guys going to deal with that when you get to festivals, when the sun shines on you at 2:00 in the afternoon?
You just kind of got to deal with it. We played a festival. We played Rockville in November last year, and I think we're playing it again next month.
Yes.
On the In This Moment tour. It's not ideal for a band like us that likes to be shrouded in darkness and LED, you know.
Right.
But
you coming out with that stocking thing over your face, right?
Yeah, but you know, it's like every other band is playing in the sun minus like the big headliners. So I'm like, I just kind of deal with it. It's whatever. And the mission is just to keep working hard until you can play in the dark, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel like I've taken up too much of your time, dude. I really, really appreciate it. No, this has been fantastic. And I've been really passionate about it on the radio. Every time I talk about your song and I'm playing it on my show today, I try to go at it a different way each time to share my passion for this album, for your music with our listeners here in Minneapolis. And it's growing and I can feel the movement happening. Much like those other bands I told you about, you know, that I've been, you know, for 25 years, you guys are one of five. I'm not bullshitting you, dude. It's changed me. And I can't stop listening to it. So thank you for the music. Thank
you, man. I appreciate everything you've done for the band and our platform and everything you've done with your platform to help, you know, spread awareness about the Death of Peace of Mind.
I'm all about it. Dude, next time you come to Minneapolis, dude, let's catch up. I'd love to hang out for a little while.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you again now. It was great.
All right, dude. Very cool. Thanks for your time, dude. And I'll chat with you soon.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, brother. Be well.
Later.